We are hearing from, I believe, official sources that Nirmala Sitharaman has been named the new finance minister. Of course, in the recent past, there has been a buzz around who will take up this portfolio. As you know, the swearing-in ceremony took place yesterday, and just a couple of days back, we received confirmation that the former finance minister, Arun Jaitley, would not want to be a part of this government, that he was opting out in order to take care of his health. There were a couple of names that the street believed were in contention for the role of finance minister. Nirmala Sitharaman has just been named. Let's pull up the benchmarks just to see if there's any reaction whatsoever with regard to this news trickling in, to see. I don't think there is a significant move. The benchmarks continue to remain around 0.2% lower. But if we can also pull up the rupee and see where it's currently trending, it's higher in trade today. It's just about 69.78, gained further in the recent past. Let's also pull up the 10-year benchmark government bond yield. In the recent past, it has been moving lower. In fact, it currently stands at below 7.1%. Of course, a lot of consensus building in with regard to next week's monetary policy. We've also got news that Subrahmanyam Jaishankar has been named a new foreign minister. Of course, Sushma Swaraj also not forming a part of this government. We've got Rajnath Singh named the new defense minister. That is another portfolio that will see a little bit of a change. Of course, Nirmala Sitharaman was the minister in charge of defense the last time around, and those portfolios get switched around. We'll, of course, bring you a lot more details as they keep trickling in. In the meanwhile, I think if we can, we'll slip in a few more. I think we're joined by Harsha. Harsha, you are seeing the entire picture. If you're with us, Harsha,
yeah.
A couple of surprises here, but I think you have all the details with you.
Not really, but there are three important names that have been announced. One is Nirmala Sitharaman becoming the finance minister. Amit Shah, as was expected, has not been named finance minister. He becomes the home minister. Rajnath Singh gets the defense portfolio, and Subrahmanyam Jaishankar he was inducted into the cabinet yesterday, gets foreign ministry. This is interesting because this is the first time after in a while that the foreign ministry's portfolio has been given to a working technocrat. Remember, he was someone who was the key architect of the foreign policy right from 2014 when Prime Minister Modi took over. So he gets the foreign minister's portfolio. Nirmala Sitharaman's finance ministry is extremely interesting for two reasons. One, she's had some sort of experience in the past. She's worked with Pricewaterhouse in her previous life before she joined government. The defense ministry has been swapped with Rajnath Singh, and the home ministry goes to Amit Shah. We'll try and get you some more voices on what this means and the ramifications of this, but this is an interesting one. The top 5 ministries have been decided. Finance goes to Nirmala Sitharaman, home goes to Amit Shah, defense goes to Rajnath Singh, and Jaishankar takes over foreign ministry.
Harsha, just sticking with this topic a little bit, there were rumors that were circulating, of course, Amit Shah being a part of the cabinet, the council of ministers. There was buzz about this in the run-up, of course, and when they won with such a landslide. But is this a bit of a surprise, the finance minister posting?
Well, rumors are just that, Alex. You can't speculate a little more on that. The news is out. I mean, Nirmala has been allocated the portfolio of finance. I think that should put a lot of the speculation that's been going on in the market. You did see the market sort of spike up in the morning, and then you saw a sudden fall. Nirmala Sitharaman has clearly been elevated. This is a big elevation since the last time. Remember, when she originally joined cabinet as Commerce and Industry Minister, from there she was moved to the Defense Minister in the previous regime. I suppose in fact, one of the newspapers carried a report saying that she's had prior experience in Commerce and Industry, and therefore might make a better fit to handle finance ministry. Just in relative terms to Amit Shah, who comes as a complete outsider with not too much experience in governance, that could have tilted in the favor. But again, I don't want to go beyond just mere speculation. The news as of now is that Nirmala is the new finance minister.
Right. To speak a little bit more about the other postings, Harsha, while we try and get a few more guests in on this to get a sense of how the market is viewing it, in terms of Piyush Goyal's posting, I think continuing the work that he's been doing in the previous government, apart from a few changes in his portfolio.
I haven't seen what Piyush Goyal has been given.
I believe he's been given railways.
Okay, let's wait and let's wait for those final numbers because final portfolios because Dharmendra Pradhan retains oil and steel, and Piyush Goyal gets railways and commerce, which was exactly what he was handling in the previous ministry as well. So some of these ministers have obviously been given the same, retaining their portfolios. Nitin Gadkari remains road transport and highways minister. Piyush Goyal gets railways and commerce, and then Nirmala Sitharaman is the big headline, the finance minister right now.
All right, let's very quickly take a check on the markets as well to see how they're functioning.
Well, absolutely. So for now, we aren't seeing too much change in the markets, and I wouldn't expect too much of a reaction because a lot of analysts and investors as well as traders had suggested that the cabinet would have very little impact on equity markets, and it's very evident here. Okay, I think I'm going to toss it back to Harsha. I think we do have an expert here with us. I'm tossing it over to you.
Thanks. Aarti Jarat now joins us on the phone line. Aarti, thank you so much indeed for joining us. What have you made of these choices of portfolio, specifically Nirmala Sitharaman as the finance minister?
Well, I think, it's very clear that the PMO, and Modi himself intends to, sort of direct the economic vision of, his government. And, Nirmala Sitharaman will be the executor of that vision. I think when she became defense minister, he found her, competent and effective in, implementing whatever the PMO had, had in mind for, the defense, ministry. And I think, he built up a comfortable equation with her. And so now this equation will prove very useful, because I think his biggest challenge is going to be on the economy front. That's where he really has to get going, to sort of pull the economy up and, get it back up and running again. So I think it's just that he finds Nirmala a good executor, a good implementer, and he will work with her, through her, to unfold his vision, his economic vision for the country over the next 5 years.
Hold the thought, Aarti. I also have R. Jagannathan on the phone line with me. Jaggi, thank you so much for joining us. Nirmala Sitharaman as the finance minister, the first woman finance minister at that. What did you make of that decision?
Absolutely. I think one thing is Modi likes to make a statement with the people he chooses for key portfolios. And other thing, he also likes to surprise people. If too many people are expecting something to happen, he makes sure that he actually defeats your expectations. Everybody said Amit Shah, finance. So that's everybody said something else about home and finance and all this. That is what it is. I think one thing is there, regardless of whether it was Jaitley or Nirmala Sitharaman. I mean, I don't think we should be under any illusion that the finance portfolio is entirely managed by the finance ministry. I think the PM has a huge agenda through finance and budgets, and I think that's one thing that will always come through. So I think what he needs is basically a competent implementer in terms of whatever he wants done. So that's exactly what she's thinking. And of course, she is very bright and intelligent and pick up things very fast. She's been a commerce minister, so she's not innocent of economic issues, world issues, global trade issues. So I think she is definitely a good pick, though a lightweight pick politically, I must say. But certainly, I think she will probably do well.
The other one, and a fairly reformist decision on this one as well, Jaggi, is the elevation of Subrahmanyam Jaishankar as the foreign minister. This is the first of, again, one of the first of its kind, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Because, see, I think Mr. Modi, whenever he makes lateral inductions, he seems to prefer picking them up from the bureaucracy. Because the one thing is they already hands-on, they know stuff, they know what's going on. And so when you pick them up, they know how to work further with the bureaucracy. So they can get things done smoothly, whereas a completely new political inductee will spend 1 year trying to figure out what the bureaucracy is up to. In the case of Jaishankar, it is not. and also the inopportune exit of Sushma Swaraj due to health reasons also gave Modi a chance to bring in a bright bureaucrat who actually has dealt, he has been an ambassador to the US, and he has also dealt with China during the ticklish period of the Doklam standoff. So I think the two most important superpower relationships have to be managed over the next few years, that through the Trump era and the Xi Jinping era. So I think Jaishankar is beautifully placed for that, because he can execute the broad themes that Mr. Modi sets for him, and I think it was a brilliant pick. I think.
Jaggi, thank you so much indeed for joining us with a quick take. I also have S. Narayan, the former finance secretary. Ms. Narayan, thank you so much for joining in. The decision of Nirmala Sitharaman comes as a surprise to you?
No, not at all. In fact, she was very much on the short list of our expectations even earlier. And coming from the background, the experience that she has had in commerce and dealing with trade and trade-related issues as well as defense, I think her induction into finances is, I would call it, a natural progression. And it's a wonderful choice because she brings a lot of experience, a commitment, and really a lot now, after 5 years of these two big ministries, a lot of understandings to this portfolio. So I do think that it's a wonderful choice, and we will be looking forward to her performance in the ministry.
Mr. Narayan, the appointment comes at a stage where there's a whole host of concerns that are facing the Indian economy. But one could argue that a person will not make a difference in the course that the economy is going to be charting. It is the government's decision which will in some ways be fronted by a finance minister.
Yes, I do think that, among the priorities would be absolutely consolidating and making sure that, a lot of issues that are confronting the economy are handled. If you look at her in the last 5 years, she's handled all of them with a lot of depth and detail and with a lot of commitment. I think she'd bring the same kind of focus into the finance ministry here.
If one looks at the economic ministries or economic business related ministries, Mr. Gadkari retains road. It's been an important driver for the economy. Piyush Goyal in commerce, again, somebody who has experience, and Nirmala Sitharaman, as you pointed out, a good choice perhaps of finance. So in some ways, the confluence of ministers in the economic ministries also should be confidence-inducing?
Absolutely, because they are all experienced people. And in the sense that they have all tried people in the last 5 years, the coming in of Mr. Jaishankar into the External Affairs Ministry is a natural progression of all the years of experience that we have accumulated there, with experience particularly in China and US. So I do think that a lot of thinking has gone into this allocation of ministries, and I do think that a lot of positive messages will come out of these individual ministries.
Anurag Thakur has been named the Minister of State for both finance and for corporate affairs.
Okay.
Mr. Narayan, one very quick question. From a timeline standpoint, once the cabinet has been formed, by when can we expect the next budget?
I think what would happen is, I think there would be a period of sitting down and really looking at the issues in the sense that, what is most urgent to be tackled? What are the issues that need to be tackled? And therefore, I would say that probably it would take by the end of it would take about the middle of 4 to 6 weeks before we come up with a new program. I would say about 4 to 6 weeks from now.
Sure. Mr. Narayan, thank you so much for taking our call. Thank you for a quick reaction. Sanjay Pugale also joins us on this conversation. Sanjay, we've been talking about probables yesterday. Are you surprised by Nirmala's elevation?
Surprised, but not surprised. This was a kind of being speculated. Last few weeks, people were talking about it, that Nirmala Sitharaman could also be a choice. So now it is very clear that she is an economics graduate and she is a genuine product. And she doesn't come from hardcore RSS BJP lineage. And she joined BJP only in 2008. And you have a first finance minister who has the experience of industry, commerce, corporate affairs, and in defense in the past. So good CV to have a look at.
If you have had a chance to look at the other portfolios, most of the senior members seem to have retained their portfolios from the last time, saving one or two.
Yeah, true. The biggest change is Mr. Amit Shah is Home Minister now, which was widely speculated. But in between, we were discussing three names basically. Is it Piyush Goyal? Is it Amit Shah? Is it Nirmala Sitharaman? So the last name, which was not so obvious, came to be true. Though, so clearly it shows that Mr. Modi has great confidence in her. But Mr. Amit Shah becoming Home Minister makes it very clear that what kind of political governance and the political agenda this government will pursue. And Mr. Rajnath Singh in Defence Ministry, which is going to be very active because of India's need in the defence sector, you are having a very sober, dignified, non-controversial defence minister. So his seniority has been protected. But yeah, this change is the biggest change in this cabinet. And plus you have a new woman finance minister who should be quite liberal in her approach towards economic governance. There are no great surprises, but one mention-worthy allocation is Ramesh Pokhriyal getting HRD and Smriti Irani getting child and women welfare. So this is also noteworthy assignment.
Sanjay sir, this is Ira joining in. I have a small question for you. You know, yesterday when there was speculation doing the rounds that Mr. Amit Shah may get the finance portfolio, I think the question raised was, is he open to discussion, debate on issues, or, you know, is he someone who sort of has a view and then sticks to it? Now that we have Nirmala Sitharaman, what insights can you give us into her style of functioning? Is she someone who consults with the stakeholders quite deeply and then takes decisions, or, you know, sort of does she have a view which then becomes more or less the guiding line?
Look, first thing should be very clear that she will work under the brief and the framework that Prime Minister Modi provides her. Having said that, yes, she is a good listener. She understands the subject. She tries to take feedback from all the stakeholders. That way she is very open. It is definitely possible to have a two-way conversation with her. In her personal conduct, she is absolutely dignified and she comes across as a very warm person.
All right, Sanjay, thank you so much indeed for joining us today. It's been an interesting name for the cabinet, at least at the top five. Amit Shah gets Home Ministry, Nirmala Sitharaman as the Finance Minister, Subrahmanyam Jaishankar as the Foreign Minister, and Rajnath Singh gets Defence. Interesting this one, Ira. The point is, it's we're getting the first woman finance minister.
I've been told second after Indira Gandhi. It seems Indira Gandhi held the portfolio,
but not standalone.
I would assume.
Yeah, not standalone. But it's interesting because there was so much of speculation over this yesterday. Other than a newspaper report this morning that probably propped Nirmala Sitharaman's name, nobody was anticipating this, at least from the market standpoint.
I don't think so. And I think, as I was asking Sanjay, so I think the question was that, you know, there's so many sort of decisions that need to be taken in consultation with various financial institutions, you know, the RBI being a case in point. And the question being asked was, will somebody like Amit Shah be open to hearing the other side's views? Which is why I was asking Sanjay sir the question as to whether Nirmala's, sort of approach to some of these contentious issues is a little bit more different. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I think the other question I didn't ask Sanjay sir, but maybe you have some insights. It's perhaps still surprising that Piyush Goyal didn't get the finance ministry, because, you know, he was the stand-in finance minister whenever Mr. Jaitley was indisposed.
There was a very interesting editorial yesterday that was answered exactly this point, and it said the position of finance minister is not just the job that he does, but it also sort of indicates the level of, you know, how powerful you are in the inner circle. And the point that was being made is that the Piyush Goyal may not be politically as strong to be in the inner circle just as yet. Okay. So perhaps that's why he still holds a fairly significant portfolio in both railways and commerce and industry, but he's not the top four as yet.
He's not the top.
He's not the top four. I think there is a political weight that counts, and interestingly, this in both these cases, both in foreign ministry and the finance ministry. At least for the finance minister, you're having a finance minister who's not been elected by the people.
That's true.
Rajya Sabha MP for both for Nirmala Sitharaman, Arun Jaitley was also, who lost the election in Amritsar and was a Rajya Sabha candidate. The point is, I suppose,
it's a more technocratic portfolio, right? It needs a little bit more Well,
No,
how do I put it without sounding completely out of line? But it needs depth and understanding of fairly technical subjects.
That, or the other is that the PMO could very well be in control. So even in the case of the foreign ministry, for example, the optics and the relationship is very clearly going to be managed by the Prime Minister, while he has a technocrat who is going to be doing the actual work of it. But similarly, I suppose with the finance ministry, when the overall architecture is clearly being laid out by what the Prime Minister wants, which is fair enough.
That was the case even with Mr. Jaitley, right? I mean, if you think back to the days of demonetization, all right, it was a dramatic decision where the Prime Minister's office had to be involved, but even other decisions, for instance, the tensions with the RBI, etc. The PMO was always there.
Correct.
I think everybody sort of knew that, so that essentially continues. The face fronting the finance ministry is different. Not to say that she's not going to bring a whole host of expertise and experience to the ministry, but that key policies will be driven at a larger government level is undoubtable, perhaps.
Two or three key ministries that I want to sort of highlight as well. Sanjay spoke about Smriti Irani being the Minister for Women and Child Development, Minister of Textiles, which is exactly what she was holding the last time. Harshvardhan gets Health and Family Welfare. He originally had Health and then he was moved out. He continues to hold Ministry of Science and Earth Sciences. Prakash Javadekar gets Ministry of Environment and Information and Broadcasting. Dharmendra Pradhan is the new Oil Minister. He continues to hold Petroleum, Natural Gas, and also gets Minister of Steel. Mukhtar Abdullah Naqvi for Minority Affairs. Coal, Minister of Coal and Minister of Mines. This is an interesting one. Prahlad Joshi gets Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Minister of Coal and Minister of Mines. This is interesting because Prahlad Joshi comes from Karnataka. He was a former BJP president of Karnataka. He will handle two important ministries in both coal and mines and also parliamentary affairs. Mahendranath Pandey gets skill development and entrepreneurship. Arvind Sawant from the Shiva Sena will get Minister of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprise. Anand Gite used to handle it the last time around. Giriraj Singh, Minister of Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Fisheries, and Gajendra Singh Shekhawat gets Ministry of Jal Shakti. So this is the top 24 cabinet ranked ministers led by the Prime Minister himself. The Prime Minister will hold the other important portfolios, which are atomic energy, personnel, public grievance, Department of Space. All are held with the Prime Minister, in addition to all other portfolios that are not allocated to anyone else. This is Modi 2.0.
And as I won't claim the rights for this thought, but as somebody on Twitter just said that, well, the finance minister's new job starts at 5:30 this evening.
Yes, the first cabinet meeting.
No, you get a GDP number which could probably tell you that the economy needs a lot of help. Yeah. So we'll probably have to get in on that right off.
We'll take a short break on that. When we come back, we'll deep dive into this and figure out if we can get you some more nuances on the new cabinet. But the headline is very clear: Nirmala Sitharaman is India's new finance minister.